Yes. Look at, oh my God, it's so good to see you guys.
Hi. Okay.
Donald, you're muted. Unmute yourself. Oh my God. Yeah. But we need to watch
Sorry, I was just so excited to see you all.
that.
Kelly, you'll tell us when to start?
Oh my God, Lynn, you're just beautiful as ever.
You
Hi,
guys
Lynn.
both look hot. Real.
My goodness.
Okay, can you
Amazing.
keep watching that? Like that, I was dying.
Oh,
Hi,
such
everyone.
wonderful memories.
Here we are. We're just overwhelmed with memories and fun. I know. I don't know, for this, I've been doing these watch parties and watching these things, and for some reason, this one brought up so much. And I'm so glad that you're here with me. Welcome, everybody. I'm Eduardo Villaro. I'm the artistic director and CEO of Bella Hispana. And with me, I have my friends and former dance colleagues, now human colleagues. We have Mark and Lynn Calamia and Donald Roman Lopez. I will ask them to speak in a second, but I thought I'd just give a little bio of Alberto, because I think a lot of people don't know him as much as they used to. So Alberto Alonso was born in Havana, Cuba, and attended, I mean, could you imagine? He was born there and he came to Mobile, Alabama to go to school in Spring Hill.
Wow.
On returning to Cuba, he began his ballet training in 1932 at the Sociedad Pro Arte Musical Art School in Havana. He studied in Paris and danced with Ballet Russe de Basel from 1936 to 1940, performing principal roles, works by Michael Fokine and others. He subsequently danced with ballet theater from 1943 to 1945 in works created by Fokine, Balanchine, Leonid Massine. And in 1948, he went back to Cuba and he co-founded, which a lot of people forget, with Alicia Alonso and Fernando Alonso, the Ballet Alicia Alonso, which is now the Ballet Nacional of Cuba. He also worked as ballet master and choreographer for that company and created many works, but his beloved work is the Carmen Suite that is danced around the world in many ballet companies. He left Cuba in 1993 with his third wife and settled in Gainesville, Florida, where he became master artist in residence at the Santa Fe Community College. And in 1998, he created Si Señor es mi son. I am so happy you can be with us.
95.
95?
Sorry to correct you.
Sorry, it was not, shh. That makes us 3 years older.
You were not in the company in 98.
No, I wasn't. I was gone. You were Ritmo and Gridio, but we could talk about that some other time.
We were all gone.
We were all gone by then. We were all gone by then. So if you guys would not mind
What was that?
introducing yourselves and maybe where you're at right now and also what you do currently.
Okay, I'll start.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Lynn, formerly Lynn Morrissey when I was in the company. Now this guy joined the company and now I'm Lynn Calamia. I live in Atlanta and I am a food stylist, a chef food stylist. I work a lot for food TV and styling commercials and videos and that kind of thing. So that's what I do now.
Hi, I'm Mark Calamia, her husband. And yes, and I was in that piece and wow, that was such a trip. I'm a producer now. I produce advertising, commercials, websites, events, experiences for brands. And I miss dance. And when I see it, whether it's me or not, or just my colleagues, it takes me back and it makes me want to move. So yeah, thank you for this, Eddie. Donald, you're up.
Hi guys, I'm Donald Roman Lopez, and right now I own a company with my husband, a production company, and we focus on service work is voiceover for animation and video games, and
Oh,
also
wow.
for international titles. That is our bread and butter. But we also do development, which means, and I focus on the development part, on the creative part, which means we create projects, concepts that we try to sell to other companies. Most of the stuff that we focus on nowadays is animation. There's a lot of demand for that. But that's what we do in a nutshell.
Wow. That's great, Donald.
Amazing, Donald.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, everybody who's gone through Bella Hispanico is doing some wonderful works, and I love catching up with everyone. So this work was so interesting when I watched it because I was like, oh yeah, that section and that section and that section. So I almost want to go through each of the sections because
Yes.
I want you to remind me what were we doing there? But
Yeah.
so we'll do that. But before we do that, I want to talk about Alberto and his process while we were with him. I'm sure you could remember, it was only a few years ago, because it was such an interesting moment for all of us at that time when he came in, this well-known classical choreographer. And maybe some reflections about working with him, or as soon as you knew that he was coming in to the company to set a work. Donald, do you want to start?
Yeah, start, Donald.
Sure. Oh man, I was just thinking about it today, actually. How wonderful. Cheers, by the way.
Time to drink.
I guess I get a drink when I do that.
You drink, yeah.
So I just remembered the kindness. He was like the most kind, generous, wonderful human being. I remember because I had only been in the company for less than a year, and I was trained classical. And so it was hard for me when I got there, and all these beautiful dancers that were doing all kinds of things. And so with certain choreographers, it was a lot harder for them to understand where I was at. And obviously that was part of my challenge, having to become a well-rounded and grounded dancer. But with him, just his kindness of like showing the ropes and saying, this is the way, let's go this way, and actually looking at my strengths and how he was able to highlight that, as opposed to putting it down or like making me feel that I was not quite 100% there yet, because I was a baby really in terms of the dancer. I didn't like, once I was able to understand what was required, then I knew, okay, these are the things that I needed. And, and he was one of those people who say, these are the things that you could be doing. And as soon as, we had that first season, I started taking classes, not only at the school, I was taking African, and I went out there, and he says, if you can do some other modern classes. And I went out and I took Limon. And so I feel like that was all very formative for me, but just the experience of being with him and like learning who he was. I mean, now I think back, really, we had a master of dance. I mean, somebody who had the history of dance from all the 20th century, if you really think about. And he was there. And I also remember not only him, but behind the scenes, his wife, Sonia, I believe is her name. Sonia, was it?
Sonia Calero.
And she was just Sonia Calero. Oh my God, force to be reckoned with. And she will take the girls aside, and they're like, "Okay, I'm gonna give you guys a little class on like." I think I lost you all. Am I back?
You're there. We got you.
Oh, okay. And so I remember her getting all the girls, all the ladies, on a line, and then showing them how to move the hips. Like there was a whole afternoon on, I don't know if Lynn remembers this, but just on how to move the hips, how to move the eyes, because there was a way that, as a Latin woman back in the day, that's what you did. And she was like just teaching, all the company members, especially the ladies, how to do that. And so I have those fond memories of all of that.
I'm going to jump in right there because you probably have more to say about. I didn't know who he was, and I didn't know his background until even after we were working with him, and I didn't also have the same cultural background that you all shared with Bella Hispana and the other pieces and choreographers we worked with. The thing that I remember distinctly, and you just hit on it, is the subtlety. I remember the small, like you mentioned, the eyes, and I danced bigger than I needed to, and I remember bringing it down, and that was where he wanted it to be versus more energy, and I appreciated that. It helped me a lot. Yeah, bringing it down. Yeah, it was good for me to dance that way and to think of the internal, as well as the physical, and he was pronounced that way.
We did so many different styles there. I mean, I am also not from a Latino culture. Sort of, but in a different way, like the nuances and the subtleties that I used to learn from, you guys like Pedro and Jose and Eddie, like, just even when we did Lecdems, your style and like, your way, like, I learned so much just watching you guys and dancing with you guys. And when Alberto came in, he gave me a Donald, I can totally relate to what you're saying, because he worked a lot with who I was as a dancer and allowed what I gave come through in the piece.
Yeah.
And then, also, then I had to bring in the subtleties of the culture and what that all meant. And yes, I do remember those classes with Sonia, sorry. With the little innuendos and those little subtleties that, I didn't grow up with, but it was really cool to take that on. And God, what a great memory and piece. And I'm going to watch it again. When this is all over, I'm going to watch it again.
Yeah. I think that that you all captured that he was, and his process was very interesting to me because I wanted to know how he was going to try to capture the intersectionality of cultures, and that's what he really tried to do. There was, the start with the kind of flamenco that went into the Afro, that went into the social, that then went into Lynn being carted out. I still don't remember that moment. It was a little sacrificial. If you can recall that for me, what that was about, that would be great.
To be honest, I don't really remember what it was about. I just remember doing a whole lot of schmacting. And
You remember?
You remember?
Oh, tell us.
Yes, you tell us.
It was actually political. This was a very political piece for him. This was Cuba. For him, this was what was happening to Cuba. And I remember, just thinking of the people and how families were apart and taken apart. And I think he wanted sort of get that across, showing obviously, all the exuberance of the dance and the dances within the culture, but also, I feel, and of course, it was a different experience for you guys, for you, Lynn and Mark, but the other thing that this piece actually did for me was, and it was just also part of being a Bella Hispanico, that it brought me back to my roots. I had been in the States for 4 years, and I had sort of really assimilated, if you will. And so for me, it was like, I'm going to learn the language, I'm going to just fit in, and I'm not going to. And then suddenly I joined the company, and here I am where it's all about being Latino and Hispanic. And I started connecting back to, I'm like, oh my God, it's so fantastic. It's such a wonderful culture. And it's my culture and it's so diverse. And we got so many of us and there's so much that can be shared. And so this piece, and I feel like at that moment, even before the Latinx movement that came up a few years later, this one album, and for him to use the album to actually create this piece from Gloria Estefan, the lyrics in some of those songs are just, even though, you know, of course, you got the boleros, but when you hear Mi Tierra, which is the name of the album, it's about longing for home. And that's what the piece was for him. It was longing for home. And I feel like for me, it sort of connected me back to that same thing. I was longing for home myself, and I didn't even know that. And so it came full circle for me when we would do the lecture demonstrations. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh yeah, we remember lecture demonstrations.
I remember you experiencing that recall to your roots, even in the lectums. Like I was thinking about that earlier, you know, anticipating this. I also remember, so thank you, Donald, for tuning us in right there. I remember too, as you were saying that the black and white, those black and white costumes that we had, the loose fitting pants and the blousing and you know, we were like newspapers. I remember him telling us the black and white newspapers, and we were the headlines and the populace and the, you know, kind of suffocating or wrapping around, you know, the spirit.
The big city in the wintertime, like before winter came in, yes, the wind just sweeping through the streets of the city.
I think what's really interesting to me now, standing back and also in the position that I'm in, it really shows that moment of trying to fuse so many genres of dance, but also the social political content. Right now, the way choreographers are approaching the very same thing that he was trying to do, that he was doing, is so interesting. Just not qualifying either. Just it's so interesting to see the arc, the growth, and where it is now, and where it has been pushed. But thankful for him to have done something like this. It was really, for me as a Cuban American that was born there and raised here, came as a child. I mean, when he first walked into the door, I was shitting bricks. I was like, oh, should I have said that? Sorry. You know, I was like, it's freaking Alberto Alonso, you know, Ballet Nacional of Cuba. What I have to be so, you know, there was such intensity for me. But it was great to just know that I knew how to do that movement. That was part of me. And then
that's I learned so
You
much.
were home.
Yes.
You know, I knew how important that was to you, and I did not have that in my culture. And when he walked into the room, it was like sacred. And I felt that from all of you guys. And I knew when he spoke, you really listened. He was very quiet and his English was not great. So it was hard for me to understand. A lot of times he spoke Spanish and you guys would translate for me, especially Pedro. I was partnering with him so much. So he would kind of tell me what point he was trying to get across and the feeling that he was trying to project in a moment. And I remember like you guys just being so, you know, it was a great moment for you guys, and I wanted to be a part of that, and I was, and I looking at it now, it's like, it's just so great to see it on stage and hear you guys say what you're saying, and it reminds me of all that, and even more, you know, even more that I missed while I was there, you know.
So I want to move us a little bit because I want to again thank everyone who's watching this conversation, this charla, this choreographers and cocktails. Please don't forget, cheers, everyone.
Cocktails, very important.
Yeah. To please send your questions in. We're happy to answer them towards the end of this, but we have lots more to talk about, and we're happy that you're here with us. You know, this kind of takes me into the importance of Ballet Hispanico and, you know, what it did for everyone who came in. And I think Lynn and Mark, you started talking a lot of it, but the actual brilliance of the choreographers that Tina brought in, you know, and sometimes it was a petri dish and sometimes it was spot on, but that it was, again, a movement, right? Moving us towards thinking differently. Perhaps maybe you want to talk about that experience for you being in the company, and not just this piece, and what it did for you.
I'm going to start with that because when I first got there, I mean, I was learning stuff from Vicente Nebrada when we were reviving certain pieces from him. And, you know, it was brand new for me, like doing any of that kind of movement, like sort of, you know, Vicente's movement. And then George Faison came and did Cafe America. So all of that was so new to me as far as like a style. But then Tina would bring in like William Whitener and William Forsythe. I remember we got to go to Germany. William Forsythe came in, watched company class one day, and invited a few of us to come to Germany where he was going to choreograph a piece for us. And I mean, that is so not the same as, you know, a Cuban choreographer, or like Tina just was so diverse in the movement and the styles and the genres and the choreographers that she brought into the company. And I was sort of there. I was there for 7 years, and I was really in the middle of all of that change that was happening. And I mean, it made me as a dancer so strong and so challenged. And it was just great to be a part of all of that and to be experiencing all of that. And I was sort of at the top of my game there when Alberto came in. So my God, I mean, how fortunate was I to really work one-on-one with him like that? Like, I mean, I could go on, but there's so much that Tina brought in like that. How did she do it? She knows everybody.
They all know her too.
She knew
Yeah,
everybody.
you know, Lynn, I mean, when I started watching and you first came out, I was like, wow, she was working with this man who worked with Maya Plisetskaya.
That's great.
Yes.
The enormity of that.
Yeah.
You know, he selected you. And so there was a muse-like quality also. That's incredible.
I mean, I'm honored, like, so honored. Yeah, I look back at that and I just.
And don't forget, he picked me to be lead newspaper. I'm kidding. No, I was a nobody. I was like, hey, Mark, we need you in this number.
No,
not true. Not true.
Newspaper moment.
I killed that. No, I'm just teasing. Yes, exactly. Oh, I can probably still do it. Maybe not.
We'll do it later.
How about you, Don?
Well, I think I alluded to it a little bit. You know, when I first started talking, I was just so excited. I wanted it all out. But I think that, as I was saying, for me, it was very formative, the years at Bella Hispana, because this was my first professional job. And I was challenged as soon as I joined the company because of what Lynn is saying. It's, you know, here I am, a classically trained dancer who had been dancing only for a couple of years, 2.5 years. And, you know, moving fast, wanting to like get a job and get going because I'm already old. You know, I'm 23 and I'm feeling like I'm already old. And just having that same year, even though I didn't get to dance with Ramon Oller, that was also another sort of just jolt, injection of like, okay, you want to be a part of this, you better step up your game a little bit more, you know, because it was all about, for me, it was all about being pulled up, point your feet, have lines. And, you know, that's all I knew. And suddenly there's something else here where you got to put your feet on the ground, feel supple and like, you know, feel the ground, and I had to figure out what that language was. And so all of that only made me a better dancer. You know, a year later, I was already a completely different dancer. But I had my pains and I had my, you know, so I had to go through all of that, questioning myself and questioning whether I was, you know, I was a good dancer or I had it at all. And it was just a wonderful experience that, you know, the next year it came in and here I am now being able to to deliver. And then I don't know if I was telling you, then you guys had left already. Maria Rovira came in to do a piece where it was very important that our experience as pedestrians was what this piece was all about. And I was there. I felt it. It felt so on that I was like, okay, this is what this is about. And it was an incredible piece. It's one of those pieces, there are pieces that you do that are like for the audience, and there are pieces that you do that are for you and your friends. I think Señor was one of those pieces because it was almost like a big party, right? And so this other piece was called A Tierra de Nadie, Nobody's Land or No Man's Land. It was that kind of a piece, but it was a modern piece, so it was really intense, but it required us to be so together, but it also celebrated our individuality as well. And so all of that gave me a lot of confidence to be a better dancer.
So I'm gonna go through kind of a round robin because you bring up, what's your favorite things, and so our life at BH. I want us to be as honest as possible and fun as possible. So here's something really funny. So what was your favorite costume while you were at Bella Hispana, and which ballet was it?
I know what yours is.
What?
That cut all the way down to the back
he's
piece.
right.
What was that piece though?
It was the Ann Holt Ward. She designed it.
Yeah.
And it was that
the
piece. Oh my God,
Tango?
we're old people.
Okay.
What?
Cada Noche Tango?
No, after that.
That's
After
good
that.
too, though.
Um,
Looked damn good in
it
Tango.
was Graciela, right? El Nuevo Mundo.
Oh, El Nuevo Mundo. That was a beautiful, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So Anne designed this costume that was cut all the way down because I had abs back then.
Still do.
Yeah, I mean, that
celebrating.
costume was amazing. Yeah.
My favorite, well, I don't know about costume, but role, it's interesting. My favorite piece that we did was Goodnight Paradise with Ramon. Donald, you just mentioned that. And I mean, he was just a tour de force to work with, and still is. I would give anything. I'd love to go back and watch him and be part of it. I came alive as a dancer, Donald, like you were talking about before. I related to that Lamone style, that drop, fall, flow, and he just, that was part of his. And then the drama that I loved, and Goodnight Paradise. I mean, that was a crazy
He wanted
piece
us to
for
be
all.
fearless. Like we had to be fearless.
Right.
Remember, like running and jumping.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he wanted us to have zero fear and just trust. Like I just remember, I was not a fearless dancer, and that was such a challenge for me to like break that and go there with him. And amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
fear and trust.
Yeah.
My favorite costume though was that costume, and Eddie, you'd have to help me, but it was your role, and I did your role in El Nuevo Mundo, I think, and the bull and the
Toreador
I'm
jacket.
sorry, let me interrupt. It was
Yeah.
El Bacine, not El Nuevo
El
Mundo.
Bacine was her
That's
costume.
the one that I was
That's
talking
right.
I
about.
knew it. Okay, El Bacine. Oh my gosh, yes. Remember that? We should show that. I think I'm going to show that. I'm going to be a little embarrassed because of my role there in El Bacine. If you recall, which I had two roles.
Yeah.
We keep going.
No.
Okay, we'll save it. Okay.
We'll save it.
I know what you're saying.
You
I
remember?
the other
Okay.
role. Okay.
Ginger.
Yes.
We all had great costumes. That was a great costume piece.
Oh,
And
I remember now. Just
Yeah.
came to me.
I
Yeah.
know.
You're fabulous.
Donald. Yeah, that was.
Change subject.
I'll bring you back. I'll bring you back for that one. Donald, I know you were talking about Maria's work. Is there another one? And specifically, is it tied to a costume?
That's tied to a costume. I don't know. I just think, I don't know that it was my favorite, but it was certainly flamboyant and very colorful. And I will have to go back to El Nuevo Mundo.
Yeah.
It was, I looked like a pimp. It was like a purple suit.
I remember that.
I would just put on like the kick-ass makeup for that costume. I mean, I'll give myself like long sideburns, like, 1970s sideburns, because it just called for it,
I do love the costumes in that piece. The men look badass.
That's a great one. Okay, here's another one. Another question. Favorite tour city?
Waukesha.
Waukesha, Wisconsin.
Nope.
Donald wasn't there for that, but we did. Donald, you were there for the Ohio tour, weren't you?
Ohio, yeah.
That
He
was
was
Yes,
there.
we were all.
Yeah,
we
we did a whole tour of all of Wisconsin and stopped at Waukesha, Wisconsin, and then we did a whole tour of Ohio, which those were interesting.
Like
I'm going to
10
say,
cities.
I'm sorry, I'm going to say favorite. It has to be somewhere in Spain, maybe Sevilla. What about when we did the World's Expo
World Fair?
in Sevilla? I mean, epic. Like that was crazy. Yeah, Sevilla.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think when we joined Mark, the company stopped touring internationally. And so I remember that year of the Ohio tour, there was a Paris, there were like
Europe.
world
European
cities or little towns, and you guys were making fun of it. Oh, look, we're gonna be in Europe, and like all these, like, because we used to have the boards and like where the tour was gonna be, and I mean, all these memories coming back to me.
That's so funny.
It was so hilarious.
We still talk about Europe or Ohio and
We
Europe.
do,
Yeah. I'm glad you remember that, Donald.
You're welcome to.
I think my
tour.
What? Say again.
what was that?
You're welcome to join our next tour. You don't have to dance, but you can join.
Oh, we'll both
That'd be a
come.
blast.
We'll all come. I'll cook.
Yeah, I think maybe we should plan something like that, an alumni tour.
Oh, man.
Amazing. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be fun. But just to answer your question, I think I remember. No. Just to really answer your question, I think I remember a tour. There were some tours where we had real fans. Like I remember people just loving Ballet Hispanico, like the company, places in Florida. I remember in the South, I think in Texas, we had like in San Antonio, Austin, were some really great performances, and like just the audience was just so taken by the company. But in particular, I think you guys might have been gone by then. There was a performance that we did in Los Angeles, actually. And you know how it is when you dance, you have, your nights where you're just doing your thing. And of course, you always put your heart in it, but not always you're getting the same from the audience, and you feel it. And there was this performance in Los Angeles where it was just electric. It just was absolutely incredible, wonderful. And then there were some amazing reviews after that. And I was like, okay, so that was like, it was a reciprocal thing. It wasn't just like, because sometimes you think you might be having a great performance, and you go back and you look at the tape and you're like, oh, that wasn't really that great. But I think, that was one of those performances I think that was very memorable for me. Yeah.
Eddie, if I could, I want to add, and you'll remember this, and Donald, I think you were there too. I think we all were, but remember dancing in Aspen at 10,000 elevation and realizing what they told us before we got there, that, listen, there's oxygen in the wings and you may run out of oxygen. You might feel a little bit weak. It's okay. It's normal. But like a 2-minute solo felt like an 18-minute solo.
We were doing Inez de Castro.
I was just going to say that.
And he was new.
I was new.
And
so was I. You
were new. Donald, you were new. We had just gotten.
Oh my God, that piece was hard for me.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
The assassin, Eddie's role. I did a lot of your roles, huh, Eddie? After.
Yeah, and I did. Yeah, it was like, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. That was, I remember that. I mean, when we went back, we've been to Colorado a few times, Aspen and Boulder with the company, and it's so funny to be able to say, guys, it's real. Listen to what they're saying. It's so nice to be able to support. But this last time that we went, I was the one who got sick, none of the dancers. And I had to lead a whole leg dem sick. So it was like, you never know, it hits you. I'd love to make sure that everyone who's still with us, if you have any questions, please let us know. We had a great comment from our illustrious board chair, Kate Lear, who's watching. She says, what a beautiful piece. And thank you to Mark, Lynn, and Donald for being here. Thank you very much again.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, one of the things about being at Ballet Hispanico was not only the diverse repertory and the diverse touring, but the diverse amount of people that were around us at all times, right? And these friendships that we built. And I mean, I still have some. I'm sure you still have some. You are. I mean, I saw both of you guys last time we toured through Atlanta, which was spectacular.
Yep.
So you know, I want to get to kind of talking about being in a company and how you develop that family feel.
Can I start that answer there? Because I can tell you by contrast, being in corporate environments, and maybe Donald, I'm not sure what your work environment is now on the production side as you were describing, but you know, we spent a lot of time talking about how to build and create culture. And it's occurred to me many times that was never something that we struggled with as dancers or in the theater as thespians. You know, you get so close to one another because you have to be, because you're so exposed, you're so emotionally, physically, you know, all the above. And of course, traveling, you know, touring together. But the pieces are so deep and meaningful that you get to connect with one another on those levels. And we don't all experience that in our day jobs. You know, most people don't experience that level. And maybe they don't want to, but I can tell you that we never lacked culture. We never lacked purpose. We never lacked colorfulness,
exuberance,
expression,
like being crazy, and
be who you are,
being who we are. Yeah, totally.
So I miss that now, you know, and now in my company, I know how to create that because of that experience and bring people closer together. But that's a profound thing. I miss it. I'm grateful for the time that I spent with you all and with the other theater companies and dance companies that I was part of for that reason.
Yeah.
Crazy times we had on the road, in hotels, and
The bus,
you know, the bus,
Yeah.
like our off moments, we were off time, like, you know, our free moments. How there was never a moment where like, oh, we have to hide how we feel. I mean, hello, we were like out there, loud and proud, and you know, living our best life. And that was the beauty of us as a company, touring the world and you know, everywhere, and just being who we were and not having to like hide that or not be proud of our nationality or our sexual orientation or anything. You know, we were just a band of gypsies and proud of it.
Yes.
It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, being a company requires that, and in a dance company, especially, you know, even when the reality is there are days that is very intense and you get on people's nerves and people get on your nerves. But at the end of the day, once you get on that stage, you leave it all behind. Or even when you're working out, when you're working through choreography, again, I might be having the wrong count. You have the count that's not the right count. And then suddenly, boom, you get on that stage and magic happens because you just come together. It has to happen. And I was talking about that earlier. It's just so beautiful. It's so amazing. I feel like those of us who have had this experience, we're extremely, extremely lucky. I think it's the blessing and to feel so fortunate to actually be on a stage and express yourself through movement, something that is so basic, that is so essential to just existence. I mean, the universe is all about movement. That's, movement, accidents and motion is what has created life. And for one to be able to get on stage and express oneself that way, I feel so lucky. And I think about the times when I was able to do that, and I go back and I go, nothing really compares to that. I love all the things that I do, and I feel like I've become the artist that I am meant to be. To continue to do the things that I do. I realized I wasn't just a dancer, that there were, and that I'm not putting that, meaning that being just a dancer is not good enough, meaning I was just an artist who needed to express himself in many different ways, and I didn't know that. But what dance provided for me is something that it's hard to explain, that only dancers can really understand. What that really feels like.
Yeah, and I think that was beautiful. Thank you. What comes to mind for me is this space that Bella Hispanico and dance companies create for artists. It's such a beautiful thing. I mean, we could be anywhere, like Lubbock, Texas, and walking down, and we get heckled because of the way we're dressed, or whose hand we're holding. But that didn't matter anyway, because there was such a power of being together.
Yeah, that's
And that not many people have that safe space.
right.
Yeah. Yes, that is so true. So true.
So that's the beauty of the arts and artists, and which leads me to another question, and not a question so much. I think I'm going to request some really, really good or just some good advice for our young people. We have, as you know, Ballet Hispanico has a school of dance. We do such work. You did that work. You are a part of that legacy of those lives we've touched throughout touring, in workshops, in Latin social dance classes, in school rooms. What do you say to a young person who wants a future in dance or wants a career in dance?
Okay.
That's a big question. It's an amazing question, and I need to reflect.
Think about it.
You
I'll tell you what comes to the top of my mind is, and that was surprising in the beginning and all throughout. And for me, as I said earlier, I didn't share the cultural background, so it was all new for me. All of the different, even within Bella Hispanico, all the diversity, each of those cultural areas that we visited on and focused on and brought to life was a new language for me. And not all of it was my favorite. Not all of it was, some was easy, it was a variety, right? It all counted, all of it. Every bit, the small parts, the big parts, the steps that I struggled with that maybe never really got perfectly, and the other ones that came naturally, and I soared internally, at least. Maybe Tina would say not quite enough yet, but still I felt good in them. Regardless, it all added up to you talked about the diversity. It was a diverse experience that was enlightening, and it built me, as Donald, as you said, as a dancer, which I'm very proud of. Every bit, all of it together, I'm proud of.
And that's actually, thank you for saying that, because it makes me want, I know how to answer my part of the question now. And that's, I was at Ballet Hispanico for 7 years, and I started from the beginning. I was fresh out of, college, and I was new, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was so green. Tina gave me so much. And by the time we did Alberto Alonso's piece, I was sort of at the top of my Ballet Hispanico game. But then when I left the company, I went into the Broadway world, where I was like, this is not my world. I don't know how to navigate this at all. He actually sort of kind of brought me. It was actually Anne Reinking. William Whitener introduced me to Anne Reinking. I took her class, and I mean, that's sort of how it all started. But getting into the Broadway community was a completely different route and a different style and a different vibe than Ballet Hispanico was. So I had to relearn everything, relearn how to like be as a dancer, be as a performer. Like I was not at the top of my game. I was at the bottom of my game, you know, so I had to kind of work my way up again. So as far as young dancers go, I mean, the sky is the limit, you know. You can start as one thing and then be another thing. And it's just speaking of all of us right now, you know, Eddie, you're the king, the CEO, and like that's incredible. And you're exactly where you should be. Donald, I love what you're doing. You know, having a production company, and that's similar to what we do. And moving outside of dance, like we found what we do outside of dance, but dance, that discipline is what formed us to do what we're doing now. So to a young dancer, that's the training and, you know, all that experience that we had brought us to where we are today, even if we're not still dancing, you know?
Yeah. Great guys. I mean, you said it all already. I would say, I would add, be your authentic self. I think that a lot of times we are trying to, and that's sometimes part of the process, right? Where you're trying to please and you're trying to, and it's important. I think one of the things that everybody said here is you got to train, right? Because practice makes perfect. And the more you experience as well, the most places where you can draw from are gonna help you try to figure out what kind of dancer you are as well. Because I think for all of us, I mean, we're all kind of, you know, alluded to this a little bit, that we were this type of dancer when we got to the company, and then we experienced the company, left the company to do something else or try dance in a different way, and had to relearn or bring some of the stuff that we already had with us, you know, within the new world that we're trying to build for ourselves. And besides that, I say stay open. Stay open, because you never know what the path is. Sometimes we have an idea of what we think it is, and keep on hitting ourselves against the wall, trying to get to that thing that we think it is. And then suddenly the universe is actually showing us a path that has been quite open for a while. And we haven't realized, and we go, oh, wait, this way. So, you know, be your authentic self, practice, learn as much as you can, and stay open.
Stay open. Nice.
Well, I think this is a perfect time to close this conversation. I just want to say that every time I have a conversation with alum, especially alum like you, I am so filled with pride just for, you know, a life well lived and an experience well experienced. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming. I want to thank our audience for being with us. Mark, I might have to call you again next time in 2 weeks on February 10th. We're doing Cafe America, and George Faison is going to be on to talk with us.
Oh man, let's do it. Let's do
I
it.
hope you will join us, all of you. I hope you'll watch. And thank you very much, everyone, for being with us. Adios, amigos.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.